There was once a young woman named Lina. She was living in a small but busy city. By day, she worked at a tiny neighborhood café, preparing lattes and cappuccinos for commuters rushing to their offices. By night, she studied graphic design, squeezing in hours of practice long after most of her friends had gone to bed. Lina wasn't wealthy, and she didn't have many connections in the design world. But she had something she held on to fiercely, a dream. She wanted to build a career where her creativity could shine, where her ideas could live beyond scraps of paper and late-night sketches. She carried a sketchbook everywhere. Sometimes, during her cafe shifts, she'd doodle on napkins between orders, logos, symbols, color patterns, anything that came to her mind. Customers would smile politely, but Lina hoped that someday those little drawings might turn into something bigger. Like many dreamers, she had one belief: if she worked harder than everyone else, the world would eventually notice. Effort, she thought, would be enough to break through. But the world, as she soon learned, does not always clap for effort right away. Emails began to pour in. Rejections. Polite but sharp. Thank you for applying, but we've chosen another candidate. You're talented, but not the right fit for this project. We went in a different direction. Each one landed like a stone. The café's espresso machine hissed louder. The glow of her small desk lamp felt colder. Her savings thinned with each month, but her confidence thinned faster. Her friends suggested she try something else. Her mother worried out loud that maybe she was wasting her best years. And her sketchbook, the place that once felt like her safe space, began to look like a reminder of all the dreams slipping through her fingers. Lina knew the sound of disappointment all too well. The heavy pause before opening an email. The long walk back from the mailbox with nothing but bills. The silence after missing yet another deadline. Life was shrinking, day by day. Her apartment felt smaller. Her meals grew simpler. Her hope, once bright and fiery, was flickering low. She began to wonder if maybe this was it, if maybe she was reaching the end of her dream. One winter evening, after a long shift at the café, Lina dragged herself home. She sat at her little table, opened her portfolio, and tried to fix a logo design. Her hands trembled with exhaustion. Then, in one careless movement, she spilled coffee all over her work. Brown stains bled across the page. The panic that followed was enormous. She sat on the floor, heart pounding, and for the first time, she considered burning it all, throwing away the sketchbooks, closing the computer, and quitting for good. And that's when there was a knock at her door. Standing there was Mr. Harris, the delivery man who often brought packages to her building. He was in his late 60s, with a weathered face and hands that looked like they'd held decades of work. He noticed the ruined page on the floor and the despair on Lina's face. Without hesitation, he stepped inside and sat down on her couch. "You know," he said quietly, "when I first started working, I failed so much that the postman almost stopped delivering my mail. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. It was the beginning." His voice was steady, the kind that made the room feel safer. He told her stories from his youth, about a bakery he tried to run at 20 that collapsed within a year, about jobs he lost, debts he had to repay, and doors that closed before any opened. But he didn't share these things to pity himself. He shared them to show her something important, that failure wasn't a wall. It was a teacher. Every rejection, he explained, is proof that you tried. Every mistake is a lesson you carry into the next round. And every closed door just means there's a hallway you haven't seen yet. Lina listened. And for the first time in weeks, something in her chest loosened. His words didn't feel like a pep talk, they felt like tools. Practical, heavy, usable tools. That night, when Mr. Harris left, Lina folded the coffee-stained page and tucked it back into her sketchbook. Instead of tossing it away, she drew a little star next to the stain and wrote beneath it, Lesson 1. The next morning, Lina decided she would not quit. But she would change how she approached failure. Instead of seeing it as an enemy, she treated it as a guide. She began entering smaller contests instead of only aiming for the big leagues. She asked the local bookstore down the street if she could display some postcards she had designed. She didn't just create, she tested. And when the postcards didn't sell, she didn't cry herself to sleep. She asked the shop owner why. When her designs were dismissed from competitions, she didn't delete the files in shame. She emailed the judges and asked for feedback. Some responses were harsh: your colors feel flat. Your lines aren't strong. This concept is confusing. But instead of shutting down, Lina took each note as a challenge. She experimented with new color palettes for a week, deliberately trying shades she once avoided. She reworked lines until they had energy. She studied the comments like a map, following them toward improvement. It wasn't easy. She failed again, and again, and again. But this time, each failure felt different. It wasn't the storm that drowned her, it was the storm she studied. She learned its patterns, its rhythms, and its lessons. Months passed, and her work quietly improved. The thin, shaky portfolio began to thicken with pages full of process notes, revisions, and fresh attempts. Rejections still came, but they came with insight. And each bruise left her stronger than before. Then, one morning, her inbox lit up with an email that read, "We loved your process notes. Your revisions show growth. Would you like to join our team on a trial basis?" It wasn't a glamorous headline. It wasn't viral fame. But it was a doorway, a narrow one, yes, but a doorway nonetheless. Lina accepted. At first, she worked nervously, still afraid of making mistakes. But slowly, she realized that her mistakes were no longer disasters. They were data. Each time something didn't work, she asked, "What can I learn from this?" She sought feedback, swallowed her pride, and made changes. She stopped trying to look perfect and started trying to grow. Years later, Lina became the leader of a small design team. Bright, talented, but nervous students often came to her, asking how she managed to make it. She would pull out that same sketchbook and show them the page with the brown coffee stain and the little star. "This," she'd say, "is where I learned to fail like a professional. Not to run from failure, but to fold it into my work. To use it." Her lessons were simple and true. Failure is a map, not a verdict. Every bruise today is proof of tomorrow's courage. Small failures build the foundation for big wins. Feedback is a flashlight in a dark room, follow it. Stay with the problem long enough to learn its language. Her team began to practice failure together. They tested ideas that seemed silly, just to see where they broke. They made quick mistakes on purpose and fixed them faster. They stopped fearing failure and instead measured what it taught them. Lina's greatest victory wasn't one big success story. It was the countless little recoveries. The morning she stopped panicking at a rejection email and instead asked, "Okay, what's missing?" The day she thanked a critic instead of resenting them. The time she encouraged a colleague to save a ruined print as a reminder of progress, rather than throwing it away. And so, my friend, if you've ever sat at your desk, heart heavy, staring at a rejection email, remember this: failure isn't a full stop. It's a comma. It's the pause before the next sentence of your story. If you feel afraid, let fear push you forward. If you feel ashamed, let shame teach you how to do better. Fail early. Fail often. Fail with intention. And then rise again, until the pattern breaks and success emerges, not from luck, but from persistence. Because in the end, success isn't about never falling down. It's about how many times you stand back up. If Lina's story touched you today, remember to share it with someone who might need encouragement right now. And if you'd like to hear more real, life-changing stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes, the only thing standing between giving up and breaking through is hearing the right story at the right time.